when I went to pick up my girlfriend from a karaoke bar. I overheard her talking with her friends outside the private room. Maria, George treats you so well. Yet you're going to marry Makoto. Aren't you afraid your boyfriend will get angry? Maria replied as if it were the most natural thing in the world. So what? I'm only helping Makoto secure his inheritance from the Ito family. It's not like I'm actually going to be his wife. We're just getting a marriage certificate. If George can't even accept that, how can he claim to love me? Besides, he's just a penniless loser. He was never good enough for me in the first place. What right does he have to tell me what to do? Standing outside the private room, I felt no heartbreak when I heard those words. Instead, I was overjoyed. My family had never approved of my girlfriend. They thought she lacked the class to become one of us, and ever since her childhood sweetheart returned from abroad, I had gradually given up on her as well. Perfect. She could marry her childhood sweetheart, and I would marry mine. What I never expected was that, when she found out I was going to marry the nation's sweetheart, she completely lost her mind. Chapter 1. Today was my birthday. I had specially prepared 999 roses and a diamond ring, along with an elaborate candlelit dinner. I planned to propose tonight and see how she reacted. My family had been pressuring me to get married. They also looked down on my girlfriend because she came from an ordinary family. They insisted that I choose between her and my childhood sweetheart, an award-winning actress. Maria and I had been together for 5 years and living together for 3. Ever since her childhood sweetheart returned from abroad, she had been coming home later and later. Still, after so many years together, I naturally had some feelings for her. If she was willing to cut ties with him and nothing physical had happened between them yet, marrying her would not be entirely out of the question. But if she rejected my proposal, then there would be no need for me to keep treating her like a gentleman. I might as well enjoy one last night with her before we broke up. Even if she eventually chose that man, I would not be walking away empty-handed, would I? To my surprise, I waited until all the food had gone cold. My girlfriend, who had spent every one of my previous birthdays with me, suddenly called, "George, eat dinner by yourself. I'll be home late." My expression immediately darkened, but my voice remained calm. "What are you going to do?" A hint of impatience entered her voice. "Makoto is drinking with some of my childhood friends in a private room. I'm worried he'll drink too much, so I need to keep an eye on him." Perhaps realizing that she had sounded too harsh, she hurriedly added, "I originally wanted to bring you with me, but everyone at the gathering grew up together. You wouldn't have anything to talk about with them. Don't worry, I know my limits. I'll come home as soon as it's over." My grip tightened around my phone. "You haven't forgotten that today is my birthday, have you?" Her voice rose several notches. "It's just a birthday. I've spent so many birthdays with you already. What difference does missing one make? I already told you that Makoto is in poor health and can't drink too much. Stop being so unreasonable." She took a deep breath, and her tone softened slightly. "All right, George, I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. I know I've been spending more time with Makoto since he came back, but trust me, you're the only man I'll ever love. I would never betray you, so stop making a scene. I'm already in the private room. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to abandon everyone and rush home now. I'll make it up to you by celebrating your birthday tomorrow." She paused before adding, "I'll send you the address. Come pick me up later. That's all." The call ended before I could reply. Listening to the dial tone, I suddenly found the whole thing ridiculous. Ever since Maria became the company president, the way she spoke to me had gradually turned condescending and commanding, as though she were ordering around one of her employees. There was no chance I would marry a woman like her now. I glanced at the stone-cold dishes and the table covered in flowers. Then I swept everything into the trash. She wanted me to pick her up, didn't she? Fine. Of course I would go. We had not broken up yet. I was not about to let another man take advantage of that. I drove to the address she had sent me. The moment I reached the door of the private room, I heard Maria and her friends talking inside. "Maria, George loves you so much, but you're planning to marry Makoto Ito. What exactly are you thinking? Aren't you afraid George will get angry?" Maria answered with complete confidence, her voice full of superiority. "I don't have a choice. If I don't marry Makoto, there's no way an illegitimate son like him can become the heir to the Ito family. I'm only helping Makoto Ito secure the Ito family inheritance. It's not as though I'm actually going to stay married to him. George is the only man I love. Once Makoto has firmly established himself as the heir, I can simply divorce him. Even if George finds out, he'll understand. He loves me so much, and his family background is nothing special. What other choice does he have besides waiting for me? All right, Makoto will be back from the restroom soon. None of you can mention this to him, and you definitely can't tell George." Standing outside the private room, I listened as the last shred of hope I had for her vanished completely. Perfect. She could marry her childhood sweetheart, and I would marry mine. Neither of us had the right to criticize the other, without lingering for even a second. I turned around and left. Chapter 2. That night, Maria finally came home. Her steps were unsteady, and the strong smell of alcohol clung to her entire body. When she saw me sitting on the sofa, she kicked off her high heels, her expression dark with anger. "George, what's the meaning of this? I told you to come pick me up. Where were you? I only missed one birthday. Do you really have to be this petty about it?" Without waiting for my answer, she stumbled into the bathroom to take a shower. When Maria came out and saw that I was already lying in bed, she froze for a moment. A rare trace of guilt flashed across her eyes. Just as she had done in the past, she untied her bath towel and slipped beneath the covers, her soft body pressed tightly against mine, and she spoke in a gentle, coaxing voice. "Come on, honey, don't be angry anymore. I know you didn't pick me up because you were upset that I missed your birthday, but I promise you, there's really nothing going on between Makoto and me. When have I ever not come home to spend the night with you? I only recently became the company president, and I'm exhausted too. Can't you be a little more understanding toward your wife?" As she spoke, she obediently slid lower beneath the covers. I let out a cold laugh. She had never been willing to call me honey before. It was only after Makoto returned that she began feeling guilty for neglecting her actual boyfriend. So she started addressing me that way. For the first time, she had even begun taking the initiative. Lately, Maria had always been like this, hurting me first, then offering me something sweet afterward. Did she really think she had me completely under her control? Since we were going to break up anyway, I might as well enjoy myself while I still could. I did not hold back. I rolled over, took control, and went several intense rounds with her. I used every trick I knew, one after another, showing her absolutely no mercy. By the end, Maria was utterly overwhelmed and begging me to stop. Afterward, her face was flushed with satisfaction as she kissed me again and again, her eyes filled with tenderness. "Honey, how did I never realize you were this good before?" I replied indifferently. "You're asking me, weren't you always saying you were exhausted from work and rushing me to finish early?" A deeper trace of guilt appeared on Maria's face. Her right hand restlessly drew circles across my chest. "All right, it was my fault before. I promise I'll cooperate properly with my husband from now on. You were amazing. Honey, let's sleep. You worked hard tonight." She leaned closer and planted another loud kiss on my lips before curling up in my arms and drifting into a deep sleep. Chapter 3. The next day, when I arrived at the company, I noticed that all my co-workers were looking at me strangely. Makoto walked straight toward me, his voice full of accusation. "George, I know you don't come from a wealthy family. If you're short on money, you could have just told me. For Maria's sake, I definitely would have lent you some. But how could you steal my watch?" After returning from abroad, Makoto Ito had not joined the Ito family business. Instead, he had come to Lin Corporation to work as Maria Lin's assistant. Most of the Ito family's business came from Lin Corporation, and the difference in scale between the two companies was enormous. His intentions could not have been more obvious. He was taking an indirect route to secure his position in the Ito family. As long as he won Maria over, the Ito family would be forced to reconsider the value of this illegitimate son. The watch he wore every day was worth around 600,000. Many people knew that Makoto was the young master of the Ito family and that he had become Maria's personal assistant the moment he joined the company. It was obvious that his relationship with Maria was anything but ordinary. Someone eager to curry favor with him immediately jumped forward. "What? Supervisor Wong, you actually stole something. Assistant Ito's watch is supposedly worth 600,000. That's more than 2 years of your salary. Disgusting. You always acted so respectable, but it turns out you're this kind of person." "Exactly. Being poor is one thing, but having sticky fingers is another. How can someone like him be a department supervisor?" Another coworker, Martin, sneered. "What the hell, George Wong, have you lost your mind? You actually dared to steal a $600,000 watch? Someone like him should be locked up and left to rot in prison. Do you think he stole his supervisor position too?" Martin, Maria, and I had all attended the same university. He had been the president of the student council and had pursued Maria for a long time. When Maria ended up dating me instead, Martin had been furious. After joining Lin Corporation, he had constantly tried to make trouble for me. Recently, Makoto and Maria had grown especially close. When Martin learned that Makoto was the young master of the Ito family, he finally felt less humiliated about losing Maria to me. He immediately began sucking up to Makoto, and the two formed an alliance. Martin became Makoto's lapdog. After that, every time he saw me, he would hold his head high, his eyes filled with smugness and mockery. As soon as Martin finished speaking, someone else laughed loudly and chimed in. "Ha ha ha, who knows? Isn't he Maria's boyfriend? Didn't he only get promoted because of his relationship with her?" Someone else sneered. "Heh, he's nothing but a useless keptman living off a woman." Seeing so many people standing on his side, The provocation in Makoto's eyes grew even stronger. George, I won't make things difficult for you. Kneel down, kowtow, and apologize to me. Then I'll consider the watch a gift. How does that sound? Chapter 4. I stared at him and suddenly smiled. The next second, I slapped him hard across the face. Steal your watch and kneel down to apologize. Go fuck yourself. I shoved him to the floor and slapped him 7 or 8 more times in quick succession. You fucking hit me. Martin was the first to react. He rushed forward and tried to grab me by the collar. George, are you insane? How dare you hit Assistant Ito? Security. Where the hell is security? I sidestepped him, spun around, and kicked him in the knee. Martin screamed as his leg buckled, nearly sending him to his knees. Martin. I glared at him viciously. Say one more word, and I'll slap you too. Martin was frightened into silence by my gaze. His mouth hung open, but he did not dare utter another word. The co-workers who had been jeering moments earlier instantly fell silent. They stared at me with wide eyes, unable to believe what they were seeing. Not one of them dared step forward. None of them had ever imagined that the usually mild-mannered Supervisor Wang could have such a violent side. Makoto finally recovered. Clutching his swollen, reddened face, he pointed at me through gritted teeth. George, you actually dared to hit me. Don't even think about walking out of here today. I'm telling you, not even Maria can protect you now. Call the police. I'm calling the police. I'll have you thrown in prison. The police. I slapped him hard across the face again. Go ahead, Makoto. Call them. You're nothing but an illegitimate son no one in your family respects. On your very first day here, you falsely accused me of spilling coffee on you. I've clearly been far too tolerant of you. Let the police come and investigate exactly how your $600,000 watch disappeared. There are security cameras all over the company. Even if every last one of them happened to be broken, there would still be fingerprints, wouldn't there? Do you really think everyone here is an idiot? I pulled out my phone and waved it in front of him. I recorded everything you people just said. You wanted me to kneel and kowtow to you, didn't you? Those words came straight out of your filthy mouth. Defamation, false accusations, and threats. Tell me, when the police arrive, which one of us do you think they'll take away first? In truth, it would not matter even if he deleted the surveillance footage. The last time the company's security system malfunctioned, I had been the one who hired someone to repair it. After he falsely accused me of spilling coffee on him, I had taken extra precautions. I could access the surveillance backups directly from my phone. Was this bastard addicted to framing me? Makoto's expression turned hideous in an instant. The hand he was pointing at me began to tremble, and he could not utter a single word. Chapter 5. At that moment, Maria finally stopped pretending not to notice what was happening. She hurried out of her office in high heels and rushed to Makoto's side, her face full of concern as she helped him up and asked whether he was hurt. Then she turned and glared viciously at me. George, that's enough. If you really needed money, you could have come to me. How could you do something like this? Watching the two of them act so affectionate toward each other, I suddenly found the entire situation absurd. I laughed. Maria, just last night, you were lying in my arms, your voice hoarse as you called me a honey. But today, in front of the entire company, even though you know Makoto may have framed me, you still sided with him without hesitation. You're determined to pin the blame on me, aren't you? Maria, I've shown you far more respect than you deserve. Maria's face instantly turned bright red, and her expression became terrifyingly dark. George, what nonsense are you talking about? Stop acting like a lunatic. I'm the lunatic. I looked at her with a sneer. What's wrong? Have you already forgotten how you cried out honey last night? And today, you're all over another man. Maria, you're getting better and better at keeping one man on the hook while chasing another. I'm not. Panic entered her voice, and her eyes reddened. I only came over because Makoto was injured. There's absolutely nothing between us. The mockery in my eyes grew even stronger. Nothing between you. Maria, aren't you planning to marry this illegitimate son your own family wouldn't even acknowledge? And you have the nerve to stand here and claim there's nothing between you. Who are you trying to fool? Maria's mind went blank, and she froze completely. How did you know? She immediately panicked. Releasing Makoto, she hurried over and tried to grab my arm. George, listen to me. I have my reasons. You have to believe me. You're the only man I've ever loved. I had already lost every last bit of faith in her. I could not be bothered to listen to another word, so I shook her off. We're done. You cheating bitch. Maria froze. She stared blankly at me, never imagining that those words would ever come out of my mouth. What? I looked down at her and repeated each word clearly. I said we're breaking up. What's wrong? MS. Lin, have you gone deaf? You're already planning to marry another man. Don't tell me you still expect to keep me around too. The moment Makoto heard me mention breaking up, his eyes lit up. Maria exploded with rage. She had already swallowed her pride and lowered herself to explain everything to me, yet I still dared to break up with her in front of everyone. She laughed, but only because she was furious. Gritting her teeth, she stared at me and said, "George, you'd better think carefully. Don't assume you can control me with this hard-to-get act. If you dare say, break up one more time, even getting on your knees and begging me later won't change anything." I stared directly at her, my expression completely serious. "We're breaking up." The entire company instantly fell silent. Everyone held their breath. Maria glared at me with bloodshot eyes as though she wanted to tear me apart. Her chest rose and fell violently. The next second, she gritted her teeth and roared at me. "Get out. If you have the nerve to break up with me, then get the hell out of my company. I'll make sure the entire industry blacklists you. Let's see who would dare hire you after you leave Lin Corporation." The mockery in my eyes was impossible to hide. "You certainly talk big, MS Lin. Anyone listening might think you own the entire city. I'm done putting up with your bullshit." Without sparing her murderous glare another glance, I turned and walked away without the slightest hesitation. Crash! Behind me, Maria hurled a computer monitor to the floor, producing a deafening sound. I did not even look back. Chapter 6. As my car pulled out of the parking lot, the scenery outside the window rapidly receded into the distance. It felt as though the past 5 years Maria and I had shared were being left behind as well. Maria had been the campus beauty back in college. The first time I saw her, I was completely captivated by her beauty. At the time, I was a starting player on the basketball team and also a member of the martial arts club. My body was muscular and well-defined. My 8-pack abs were especially eye-catching. Whenever I lifted my t-shirt to wipe away my sweat during a basketball game, I could always hear the younger girls in the stands squealing. Gradually, I noticed that Maria was coming to watch me play more and more often. Her beautiful eyes would frequently drift in my direction. Whenever our gazes met, we would stare at each other for several seconds before she blushed and looked away. I was secretly delighted, but I did not rush to confess my feelings. Instead, I first found out everything she liked. When I learned that she had a habit of jogging at night, I started going for evening runs almost every day so I could accidentally bump into her. After enough encounters, we gradually became familiar with each other. We began exchanging harmless jokes. Sometimes, I would tentatively pat her on the head. She would shyly lower her gaze but never move away. Then, during a mixer between the men's and women's dorms, both of us drank too much and somehow ended up sleeping together. After that, becoming a couple happened naturally. Once Maria became my girlfriend, I believed treating her well was simply what I was supposed to do. I would wait in line to buy her meals, arrive early to save her a seat in class, carry her bags whenever we went shopping, and stay by her side all night whenever she fell ill. Yet in everyone else's eyes, I had become a pathetic simp desperate to curry favor with a rich heiress. I merely smiled and never bothered defending myself. I assumed they were simply bitter because they could not have what I had. My car had just entered White Cloud Estate, the most luxurious residential community in H City, when a message from Maria arrived. "George, I suggest you think this through carefully. Without me, you'll spend the rest of your life at the very bottom of society. Come back and apologize to Makoto, and I'll pretend you never said those things." I casually replied. Has the spoiled heiress still not woken up from her dream? Her response came almost immediately. "Fine, I'll wait for the day you come crawling back and beg me on your knees." Right afterward, Makoto sent me a message as well. "George, you're far too inexperienced to compete with me. Let me warn you, Maria is not someone a man like you has any right to dream about. If you dare keep pestering her, I won't let you off." I typed back disdainfully. "We'll see about that." Chapter 7. When the butler, Sam, saw me get out of the car, he respectfully opened the door for me, a warm, fatherly smile on his face. "Young master, your father is waiting for you in the study." I nodded and headed straight there. My father, Gabriel, sat in the center of the study. Although streaks of gray had already appeared in his hair, he was still full of energy. He sat there with his legs planted wide, radiating such natural authority that no one would dare challenge him. His bodyguard stood behind him. Aside from being tall and powerfully built, the man looked rather unremarkable. His name was Damien, and he was an exceptionally formidable fighter. Years ago, Gabriel had been kidnapped overseas. It was said that Damien had gone in alone, taken down more than a dozen men, and rescued Gabriel without leaving so much as a scratch on him. That single battle had made him famous. He was Gabriel's most trusted subordinate. I nodded at Damien. Damien bowed respectfully to me. "Eldest young master." Gabriel looked at me, his voice dripping with amusement at my misfortune. Well, look who it is, young Master Wong. The son of the richest man in H City was actually thrown out by a woman. Don't tell anyone you're my son from now on. I can't afford that kind of humiliation. I dropped casually into a chair and replied irritably. And whose fault is that? If you hadn't forced me to pretend to be poor, would people have looked down on me all these years? Gabriel picked up the teacup on the table, took a sip, and chuckled. So what? Your grandfather suffered all kinds of hardships after being sent to the countryside. Later, when it was my turn, do you know what he said? He said I wasn't allowed to miss out on a single hardship he had endured. That old man abandoned me in the countryside too and left me to fend for myself for years. You were born in a much better era. Back then, after I got into the high school in town, I offended a local thug. A whole gang chased me through 13 streets with machetes. 13 entire streets. Gabriel set his teacup down, his gaze becoming distant as he continued. In the end, I climbed over the wall into a blacksmith's yard, grabbed 2 freshly forged boning knives, and fought my way out. When they realized I was genuinely willing to risk my life, and more people began gathering to watch, they became afraid the situation would get out of hand and finally let me go. When your grandfather heard about it, he had someone deliver a letter to me. It contained only one sentence: as long as you're still alive. I leaned back in my chair and curled my lips. So you decided to use grandfather's methods on me? Of course. Gabriel answered as though it were perfectly reasonable. People always say grandparents favor their grandchildren. I couldn't take my resentment out on that old man. So why shouldn't I vent some of it on you? He sighed. Actually, before your grandfather died, he told me that a man must first understand what he's truly made of before he can know how heavy a burden he is capable of carrying. I thought about it for a long time, slapped my thigh, and realized the old bastard was absolutely right. Then, when you were kidnapped as a child, I became even more determined to send you away and force you to become independent. I put you in boarding school. When other students bullied you, I had bodyguards watch from the shadows without interfering. Do you think it didn't hurt me as your father? But you're a man. You're my only son. And you had to learn how to stand up for yourself. I suddenly asked. And what if I had never managed to stand up? Gabriel raised his eyes and glanced at me. Then I would have pretended I never had a son, and you could forget about inheriting the family fortune. Gabriel said it casually, but the hand holding his teacup was trembling slightly. Standing behind him, Damien cleared his throat. Sir, the last time you got drunk, you kept talking about how the eldest young master had been bullied at boarding school. You went after the bully's father the very next day. Shut up. Gabriel glared at Damien, his weathered face turning red. Seeing the old man flustered and embarrassed, most of the resentment in my heart faded away. I stared at him with a faint, knowing smile. Gabriel, you were behind me getting thrown out this time too, weren't you? When I graduated from university and asked to intern at our corporation, you insisted on sending me to Lin Corporation instead. Back then, that illegitimate son Makoto caused trouble at a bar and nearly broke the leg of a wealthy young heir. That was why the Ito family had no choice but to send him abroad. The Ito family personally went to apologize. Not only did they pay a huge settlement, but they also promised they would never allow Makoto to return for the rest of his life. There's no way the Ito family would suddenly bring him back now and risk offending the other family. Don't tell me you were the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. Chapter 8. Gabriel chuckled, a crafty gleam flashing through his eyes like an old fox. So what? Wang Corporation has always been the Lin family's largest supplier and investor. It wouldn't even be an exaggeration to call the Lin family business one of our subsidiaries. Sending you there for an internship was practically the same as having you work for our own company. As for Makoto, all it took was one phone call to an old friend. He stared at me, raising his voice. I never approved of you dating that Maria woman in the first place. But you refused to listen and even insisted on having a huge argument with me. I was furious. I might as well tell you the truth. The Lin family has 3 daughters, and the only reason Maria Lin became company president was because I put pressure on them. I told you back then that the higher a woman climbs, the more likely she is to either start looking down on you or go searching for a man she considers better than you. That is especially true for someone like Maria, who comes from a family that only recently became wealthy. She can't compare to someone raised in a truly established family. People like her are the worst at understanding their own position, and they look down on ordinary people more than anyone else. But you wouldn't listen. So I had no choice but to let you see the consequences for yourself. I fell silent. Gabriel sighed before slowly continuing. All right, I'll speak to the Liu family about arranging your marriage to Willow Liu. Back when you insisted on dating Maria, Willow became seriously ill. She grew up with you. Do you really think we elders couldn't see how she felt about you? Besides, your families know each other inside and out. If you marry her, I'll feel much more comfortable handing the family business over to you someday. She has been waiting for you all these years. If you ever betray her again, I'll break your damn legs. I nodded, a trace of guilt flashing through my eyes. I understand, Dad. Only then did Gabriel nod in satisfaction. All right, I still have business to take care of. Willow is coming over tonight, so make sure you keep her company. From now on, Damien will stay by your side as your driver and bodyguard. Whatever comes up, just have him deal with it. Not long after Gabriel left, a friend sent me a video of Maria drinking with her friends. In the video, one of them laughed and asked, Maria, did your little simp really dare to break up with you first? Is that actually true? Could he have found out you're planning to marry Makoto and gotten angry? Another friend laughed. No way. He loves Maria far too much. He's probably just throwing a tantrum. Besides, he's some penniless loser from the bottom of society. Getting together with Maria was the greatest stroke of luck he could ever have dreamed of. How could he possibly let go that easily? She's his only chance to climb the social ladder. I bet he'll come crawling back to apologize within 3 days. Maria looked completely certain. 7 days at most. He'll definitely come back and beg me on his knees. He only dared to throw a tantrum because he knows I still care about him. I've made up my mind. Even after I help Makoto fulfill his wish and divorce him, I still won't marry George so easily. He needs to be taught a proper lesson. Seeing this, Makoto put on an aggrieved expression. Maria, this is all my fault. If I hadn't suddenly come back and begged you to help me, the two of you never would have started fighting because of me. It's all my fault. Maria, blame me if you have to. Maria's heart immediately ached for him. She quickly took Makoto's hand and comforted him. That's enough. Makoto, you're far too kind. How could any of this be your fault? George is simply too narrow-minded. People from such humble backgrounds are always so insecure and classless. Her friends immediately burst into laughter. I ignored them and silently turned off my phone. Chapter 9. That evening, I had just finished showering and stepped out of the bathroom when Sam came upstairs to report. Eldest young master, Miss Lu has arrived. Before I could answer, Willow Lu burst into the room wearing an apple-green mini dress. Her beauty was beyond compare, and her bright, expressive eyes seemed capable of speaking on their own. She had long eyelashes, a delicate high-bridged nose, and soft red lips. At that moment, she was smiling, revealing a perfect row of pearly white teeth. She looked like a goddess who had descended to earth. Below that, her curves were full and alluring, while her slender waist looked small enough to encircle with one hand. Beneath the apple-green dress were a pair of long, straight, porcelain-white legs that gleamed enticingly. Willow truly deserved her status as the biggest star in the entertainment industry. Her beauty was simply unmatched. I stared at her in astonishment. When we were children, this girl had always followed me around like a shadow. I never expected that after not seeing her for several years, she would be even more radiant in person than she appeared on screen. My Adam's apple bobbed involuntarily. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up brilliantly. She threw herself straight into my arms and wrapped her arms around my neck like a clingy teddy bear. Gio, it's been so long. I've missed you to death. Seeing this, Sam gave me a knowing look that any man would understand and quickly withdrew. I had only just stepped out of the shower. My upper body was bare, and I had nothing but a towel wrapped around my waist. My body immediately reacted. My face burned with embarrassment. Willow, you need to get down. Willow seemed to notice something, and her delicate face instantly turned bright red. Even so, she blinked playfully and stubbornly shook her head. No, I don't want to. You haven't held me in such a long time. Gio, Uncle Wang already told me everything. We're going to set a wedding date soon. You're my future husband. I'm not embarrassed. So why are you? She pouted and gently blew warm air against my ear. Gio, I already showered before coming here. Feeling her warm breath against my ear and breathing in the faint, sweet fragrance of her body, I felt the blood throughout my entire body begin to boil. What kind of man would back down now? Unable to restrain myself any longer, I lowered my head and kissed her soft red lips. Her response was clumsy and inexperienced. I carried her over and gently laid her on the bed, resting my forehead against hers. I breathed heavily. Willow, was that your first kiss? Willow blinked her innocent eyes and nodded vigorously. Although she worked in the entertainment industry, her beauty and acting skills had already earned her 2 Best Actress awards at a remarkably young age. She had tens of millions of followers across the internet. However, I was not remotely worried that she would ever be pressured into accepting some sleazy casting couch arrangement. The Lu family already owned the largest entertainment company in the industry. Her agent, bodyguards, makeup artists, and the rest of her team were all trusted employees of the Lu family. Willow Lu had no need to please wealthy families or powerful investors. She herself represented the greatest wealth and influence in the entire entertainment industry. Most of her scripts were practically tailor-made for her. In the 5 years since her debut, she had never been involved in a single scandal and had always refused to film intimate scenes. She was truly a rare breath of fresh air in show business. Looking at the sweet and captivating Willow in my arms, I took a deep breath and kissed her passionately once more. Under my patient guidance, she gradually became more comfortable. That night, I treated her with exceptional tenderness. She clung tightly to me with both arms, her voice soft and ethereal. Late into the night, she lay weakly in my embrace and drifted into a deep sleep, tiny tears still clinging to the corners of her eyes. The first time I had seen her cry was 15 years ago. That year, I was 10, and she was 8. Willow and I had been playing in a park when we were kidnapped. We were imprisoned in an abandoned factory for 7 days and 7 nights. Countless insects, cockroaches, and rats crawled all around us. She trembled with fear and cried uncontrollably. She could only sleep peacefully when I held her in my arms. I was terrified too, but I still acted like a man and remained by her side, protecting and comforting her the entire time. After that incident, Willow seemed to become dependent on me. Whenever she saw me, she would throw herself into my arms and cling tightly to the hem of my clothes, refusing to let go. The vulnerable look in her eyes was enough to melt anyone's heart. Chapter 10. The next day, a piece of explosive news sent the entire internet into a frenzy. The nation's sweetheart, Willow, had officially set her wedding date for next month. Willow herself announced the news on Weibo with a single photo. In the picture, 2 hands were clasped together, their fingers tightly intertwined. The caption contained only 3 words: "See you next month." In barely a dozen minutes, the post received more than 100,000 comments. The trending list exploded. The topic of Willow announcing her marriage shot upward like a rocket. Netizens flooded the comments. What the hell? I woke up, and my goddess is getting married. Who is that man? Get out here and fight me one-on-one. Where's my 100-foot sword? Boo-hoo. My heart is broken. I'm quitting the internet for 3 whole hours starting today. Others commented. My youth is officially over. I've already cried myself unconscious in the bathroom. My guess is that it's definitely a business marriage. Poor Willow. Wake up. Person above. The Liu family is the most powerful force in the entertainment industry. Who could possibly force her? The entire internet was filled with wails of heartbreak. All kinds of speculation ran rampant. Soon afterward, the official websites of Liu Entertainment and Wang Corporation simultaneously released an announcement confirming the marriage alliance. The internet erupted once again, and the news shot straight to the top of the trending list. When people learned that Willow was marrying the mysterious heir of Wang Corporation, who had almost never appeared in public, the angry comments decreased considerably. Most people began offering their blessings to the couple instead. For years, the public had been endlessly curious about the true identity of Wang Corporation's elusive heir. Even this official announcement did not reveal his name. That only made the entire internet even more eager to find out who he was. I returned to work at Wang Corporation. My official title was vice president, but for now, it was merely an honorary position. All I had to do was attend important meetings and take detailed notes. After work, Damien glanced at me through the rearview mirror. "Young master," the boutique called. "The custom suit you urgently ordered from overseas has arrived." They asked whether they should deliver it directly to the estate. Sitting in the back seat, I replied calmly, "No need. It isn't far. We'll pick it up ourselves." Damien immediately turned the car around. "Yes, young master." When we arrived at the boutique, the manager personally brought out a white suit, holding it carefully in both hands. "Sir, this white suit was personally designed by the internationally renowned designer Simon and rushed here for you. I'm certain it will fit you perfectly." I nodded and tried it on. By sheer coincidence, Maria walked into the boutique with Makoto at that exact moment. She froze when she saw me dressed in the white suit. Makoto spoke in a mocking tone. Well, isn't this Supervisor Wang? What happened? After getting fired from Lin Corporation, did you come here to work at a clothing store?" Damien swept an indifferent glance over him. I ignored Makoto and adjusted my collar in front of the mirror. Maria finally came back to her senses, a complicated expression on her face. "George, why are you dressed like that?" "I'm trying on a suit," I answered flatly. "Trying on a suit?" Her voice suddenly rose several notches. "Where did you get the money to buy such an expensive suit? Do you even know this is the most exclusive boutique in H City? Even an ordinary suit here costs at least 6 figures. I looked down at her, the corner of my mouth lifting slightly. "Oh, really? So what?" Maria was rendered speechless and could not answer for a moment. Makoto stared at me suspiciously for a long time before something suddenly occurred to him. He tugged at Maria's arm and said hesitantly, "Maria, where could George possibly get enough money for a suit like this? He must have taken out a loan. Could he be planning to crash our wedding and steal you away?" "Maria, our wedding is only 2 months away. If you really leave with him during the ceremony, I'll be completely humiliated." Chapter 11. Maria exploded the moment she heard that. She glared at me darkly. "George, I never imagined this was what you were planning. I already told you that you're the only man I love. I truly have no choice but to marry Makoto. Why can't you understand? Do you have any idea how exhausting it is when you keep making a scene like this? I'm warning you, if you really show up to crash the wedding and humiliate Makoto, I won't let you off." Looking at Maria's face, twisted with anger, I suddenly laughed. My laughter made her freeze. "What are you laughing at?" "You, of course." I slowly took off the suit and handed it to Damien to put away. "Maria, you keep saying you love me and that you have no choice but to marry Makoto, but what exactly is going through your head? Crash your wedding, Maria. Do you honestly think I can't live without you? Maria looked at me with complete certainty. Isn't that true? We've been together for so many years. Everyone knows you're my. She paused before continuing. How could you possibly get over me so easily? All right, George, stop making a scene. I'll give you a definite answer. I'm marrying Makoto to help him secure his position as the Ito family heir. Afterward, I'll divorce him and marry you. But if you keep acting like this, I might actually stay married to Makoto. Don't regret it when that happens. I could no longer be bothered with her and headed for the exit. Maria, having a brain is a wonderful thing. You should see a doctor about yours. Maria flew into a rage. She tried to chase after me, but Makoto held her back tightly. All she could do was shout at my retreating figure. George, you bastard. I'm telling you, if you don't come back and apologize to me within a week, I'll never forgive you for the rest of my life. Before I even arrived home, Makoto sent me a message. George, don't get too smug. Once Maria marries me, I'll have 100 ways to make sure she can never divorce me. She'll be my wife for the rest of her life. George, TSK, you're truly pathetic. Sitting in the back seat, I replied without a second thought. Congratulations, buddy. I slept with your wife for 5 years, and damn, she knew exactly what she was doing. Makoto completely lost it. My phone began vibrating non-stop. Every message was filled with furious insults and curses. I chuckled, blocked him without another word, and put my phone away. Chapter 12. As the wedding date approached, I posted an announcement in our college group chat saying that I was getting married. After all, we had spent several years together, and I was still on good terms with some of my former classmates. Of course, I did not mention Willow's name. Otherwise, even my closest friends probably would not have believed me no matter what I said. To my surprise, the group chat instantly exploded. My idiot former roommate, David, immediately tagged Maria. Holy shit, most couples go their separate ways after graduation. I can't believe you two actually made it to the altar. The other classmates began chiming in. Did George save the entire galaxy in his previous life? Our campus beauty Maria is actually marrying him. Damn, George really managed to marry a rich woman. He can skip 30 years of hard work now. I'm so jealous I could cry. The moment I saw their messages, I knew something was wrong. They had completely misunderstood. I was just about to type out an explanation when Maria beat me to it. At George, what exactly are you trying to do? I never agreed to marry you. Are you trying to pressure me into it? I already told you that I'm marrying Makoto first. Stop making a scene. If you dare crash my wedding, I'll never forgive you. The group chat practically went nuclear. Martin wrote, Maria is marrying the young master of the Ito family. George, I can't believe you're shameless enough to announce a fake wedding just to pressure her. Several classmates who had never liked me immediately joined in. Wow, I never knew George was that kind of person. Maria is about to marry Mr. Ito, yet he's still trying to force her into marrying him. He'll really stop at nothing. However, someone else replied, wait a minute, has anyone noticed the date and venue? It says the 18th at the White Cloud Hotel. Isn't that the exact date and location of Best Actress Lou's wedding? I heard the White Cloud Hotel has already announced that it will be closed to the public on the 18th. It won't accept any reservations because the entire venue has been booked exclusively for the wedding of Best Actress Lou and the heir of Wong Corporation. Don't tell me George is claiming that he's the heir of Wong Corporation. David wrote. At George, is that true? Say the word, and I'll believe you. After thinking for a moment, I replied. It's true, just tell security that you're one of George's college classmates, and they'll let you in. The group chat fell silent for 3 seconds before erupting once again. Does George Wong think that having the surname Wong makes him the heir of Wong Corporation? Ha ha ha, I'm dying. Has he lost his mind, or has the entire world gone insane? That's the funniest joke I've heard all year. Martin replied. Best Actress Lou is the nation's newest sweetheart, the ultimate blend of innocence and sex appeal. Does someone like George really think he deserves her? Someone immediately agreed. Exactly. We were all his classmates. Who doesn't remember that George had less than $2,000 a month to live on throughout college? His clothes and shoes all came from street stalls. If he's the heir of Wong Corporation, then I must be the richest man in the world. Maria wrote. George, even if you're trying to make me angry, you don't need to invent something this ridiculous. Even the Lin family can't afford to offend the Wong and Liu families. How dare you drag them into your lie? I replied. Believe whatever you want. After sending that message, I turned off my phone and could not be bothered to read any more. Chapter 13. Over the past few weeks, the wedding had generated an insane amount of attention online. Media outlets were competing to cover every detail, and related topics continued dominating the trending lists. Willow's countless fans flooded the internet with their blessings. Maria called me repeatedly, but I did not answer a single time. I simply blocked her number. Before long, the 18th arrived. It was finally our wedding day. Nearly every major news portal and entertainment media outlet had gone all in on covering the event. Willow's enormous fanbase had surrounded the White Cloud Hotel in layer after layer, chanting loudly, "Willow, you have to be happy. You're the most beautiful. Willow. Congratulations on your wedding." Of course, apart from the invited guests and event staff, none of the reporters or fans were allowed inside the hotel. Willow and I were waiting in a lounge on the top floor for the reception to begin. At that moment, Willow looked breathtakingly beautiful, almost too perfect to be real. Her eyes sparkled like stars, and her skin was as flawless as snow. Her white wedding gown perfectly accentuated every graceful curve of her figure. Geo. She turned toward me and blinked playfully. "Do I look good?" "Beautiful." Without hesitation, I wrapped an arm around her slender waist, leaned down, and kissed her. Willow's cheeks immediately flushed bright red. She pinched me hard at the waist, and I quickly released her with a wince. Willow giggled happily. "Humph, you kept me up until the middle of the night yesterday, and that still wasn't enough. All you ever do is bully me." "Geo." I burst out laughing and pulled her back into my arms. "How could that ever be enough? Even an entire lifetime wouldn't be enough." Willow's face turned even redder. She buried her head against my chest, her eyes curved with happiness. "Geo, you're getting more shameless by the day. Why would I need to behave properly in front of my own wife?" My hand slowly moved upward along her slender waist. I blew gently against her ear and asked, "So, do you prefer me well-behaved or shameless?" Willow's delicate body trembled, blushing. She rose onto her tiptoes and planted a loud kiss on my cheek. "Guess." With that, she let out a laugh as clear as silver bells and playfully darted away. I was just about to chase after her when my phone suddenly rang. I took it out and saw that it was David, my best friend from college. The moment I answered, his nervous voice came through the phone. "Dude, are you sure this is actually going to work? I'm really standing outside the White Cloud Hotel right now. There are security guards everywhere, and I don't have an invitation. The entire place is surrounded by reporters and fans. They're not going to throw me out in front of everyone, are they? I'm too scared to go in. My legs are literally shaking." A few other classmates originally came along to watch the show, but the moment they saw this scene, they all ran off. You don't need to bother with them, though. They only came because they wanted to see you embarrass yourself. David had been my college roommate. We often played basketball together and stayed up late playing ranked games. Out of all my college friends, he was the one I was closest to. I immediately laughed. "Look at you, you coward. When have I ever lied to you? All right, I'll come down and get you." I could have simply sent Damien downstairs. However, to show how much I valued my best friend, I decided to go personally. The lobby downstairs was packed with guests. Nearly half of the entertainment industry's biggest stars had attended. Of course, none of them knew who I was, so no one came over to greet me. When I brought David into the lobby, someone finally noticed us. Maria walked toward me with an expression of utter disbelief. Makoto and Martin were following close behind her. "George, how did you get in here? Why are you here?" Chapter 14. I had not sent invitations to any of them, and there was no chance they had entered the wedding by claiming to be my classmates. The only explanation was that they had come in with their elders. Gabriel had sent business invitations to our corporate partners. Although Martin worked for Ito Corporation, his own family was also fairly wealthy. Maria hurried over, grabbed my hand, and frowned. "George, stop this. I never thought you would go this far just to chase after me. You actually sneaked into the White Cloud Hotel. Do you even know what day it is? Is this somewhere a person like you can just walk into? If you offend the Wang and Liu families, even I won't be able to protect you." I shook off her hand and sneered. "What's wrong? Miss Lin, you're allowed to be here, but I'm not." Martin looked at me with nothing but mockery in his eyes. "Well, look who it is, Maria's little simp. You actually followed her all the way here. The White Cloud Hotel's security must be terrible if any random nobody can sneak inside." David immediately became angry. "Martin, what the hell is that supposed to mean? We were all classmates. Do you really have to be so insulting? George was the one who brought me inside just now. Maybe he really is the eldest young master of the Wang family." But even he sounded uncertain, and his voice gradually faded. Martin burst out laughing as though he had just heard the funniest joke in the world. "Did I hear that correctly? George Wang is the eldest young master of the Wang family. Just look at how he lived back in college. Does someone like him deserve to be the Wang heir? As the former student council president, let me give you two a piece of advice. Get the hell out of here while you still can. This is not a place where you can come and cause a scene." I was about to speak when Maria coldly interrupted me. "That's enough. George, just because your last name is Wang doesn't mean you're actually part of the Wang family. I was with you for so many years. Do you really think I don't know what kind of person you are? Leave now. Stop humiliating me in public." Makoto gave me a smug look. "Maria, Why bother protecting the dignity of someone with such rotten morals? He glanced at the security guards standing nearby and shouted, "Security, what are you waiting for? Throw this man out." Since when did the White Cloud Hotel allow thieves inside? The moment those words left his mouth, the entire room erupted. The commotion had already attracted plenty of attention. Makoto's shout immediately set off an uproar. The surrounding guests began whispering among themselves. What's going on? That man carries himself so confidently. How could he be a thief? This is the wedding of the Wong heir and best actress Lu. How could someone like that have been allowed inside? Someone else quickly warned. Shoo, keep your voice down. Everyone who can enter this place is either rich or powerful. Don't rush to judgment before the truth comes out. That's true. He could have been framed. Exactly. It's not as though false accusations are rare in the entertainment industry. Damien was already approaching with a group of security guards, but without my order, they could only stand by and wait. Chapter 15. I did not show the slightest sign of panic. Instead, I continued smiling at Makoto. Makoto, there are some things you can say carelessly and some things you can't. An occasion like this is not a place where you can make up whatever story you want. Have you thought about the consequences? Seeing that the security guards had not reacted, Makoto became even more furious at my complete indifference. He gritted his teeth. What? Are you even a man? You did it, but you don't have the guts to admit it. Do you need me to remind you why you were kicked out of Lin Corporation? You were the one who stole my $600,000 watch. Stop playing dumb. I have a witness. With that, he turned toward Maria Lin. Maria, tell them, wasn't George the one who stole my watch? A trace of hesitation appeared on Maria's face. Makoto immediately became anxious and grabbed her hand. Maria, say something. Are you really going to humiliate me in front of everyone for a loser like George? The instant she heard that, the hesitation on Maria's face disappeared. Biting her lip, she said, "Yes, I can testify that George took Makoto's watch, which was worth $600,000. I only chose not to call the police because of the years we spent together. George, kneel down and apologize to Makoto right now. I can persuade him not to pursue the matter." Martin was delighted and hurriedly stepped forward as well, pointing at me. "I can prove it too. George and I were college classmates back then. All his clothes came from street stalls and only cost a few dozen. His family has no money at all. How could he possibly afford clothes this expensive? He must have sold the watch and used the money to buy this outfit so he could come here and continue pretending to be someone important. Everyone, don't be fooled by him." The entire hall erupted once again. This time, quite a few people began to believe them. Many of the guests looked at me with open contempt. David wanted to step forward and argue, but I grabbed him and held him back. At that moment, the heads of the Ito, Sun, and Lin families also came forward. At first, they had been worried that their children causing trouble on Wong family territory might provoke the Wong family's anger. They had originally planned to intervene, but now, it seemed their children were not the ones at fault. If they could expose a dishonest troublemaker before he disrupted the wedding, they might even earn the Wong family's favor. With that thought, they relaxed and watched the scene with interest. Maria raised her voice. "George, what else do you have to say? Kneel down, apologize, and get out of here. Or are you really going to wait until the Wong family personally deals with you?" Chapter 16. Apologize, get out. My gaze instantly turned cold. The next second, a sharp slap rang out as I struck Maria across the face. The entire hall fell deathly silent. Everyone stared with their eyes wide in disbelief. This man had actually dared to hit someone at the wedding of the Wong heir and best actress Lu. How could he possibly have the nerve? Had he lost his mind? Maria clutched her swollen cheek and stared at me in disbelief. "George, you actually hit me." Her voice rose into a shrill, distorted scream. I replied indifferently. "I hit you. Do I need to choose a special date for it?" Makoto immediately exploded. He rushed forward and tried to grab me by the collar. "George, are you insane? You dared to hit Maria at young Master Wong's wedding. Security, where are the guards? Hurry up and restrain this lunatic." I struck again. Smack. My palm landed squarely across Makoto's face. "Restrain me. Makoto, you're nothing but an illegitimate son your own family barely acknowledges. Yet you dare falsely accuse me. Who the hell do you think you are? I've clearly been far too tolerant of you." The force of the blow sent Makoto staggering back 3 steps before he crashed into a nearby banquet table. Wine glasses fell to the floor with a series of loud crashes. I charged forward and kicked him repeatedly in the stomach. Makoto curled up like a shrimp under the blows, clutching his abdomen as he rolled across the floor and screamed in pain. His suit was covered in spilled wine and shards of glass, leaving him in a miserable state. Every guest in the hall was completely stunned. Who was this man? How could he act so arrogantly on Wong family territory? No one dared step forward, and no one dared speak up to stop me. Some of the more perceptive guests noticed that the surrounding security guards had not moved at all and began to suspect the truth. Looking at Makoto rolling around on the floor, they could not help showing expressions of grim amusement. Maria stood nearby clutching her face, her beautiful features pale with terror. She screamed, "George, you've gone insane. Stop. Are you really trying to beat Makoto to death? If you don't stop right now, I'll never forgive you for the rest of my life." Chapter 17. Martin backed away in terror, his lips trembling. "George, you've really lost your mind. You actually dared to attack them here. Do you have a death wish?" Martin knew exactly how strong I was. Back in college, I had been a member of the martial arts club and was notorious for being able to take on 5 people at once. He stammered. "I'm warning you, since you already hit them, you can't hit me too." His words made me laugh in disbelief. I nodded. "If you hadn't spoken up, I might have forgotten about you." I turned around and slapped him straight to the floor, then rushed forward and unleashed a flurry of punches and kicks. "Ah, stop hitting me. It hurts. It hurts. Not the face, bro. I was wrong. You're my real brother. Please, just stop." Martin's father, Makoto's father, and Maria's father were furious. They tried to rush forward and pull me away, but the security guards subtly blocked them from getting any closer. All they could do was stamp their feet in frustration. Maria's father cursed angrily. "This is outrageous. Why are you stopping us? Hurry up and drag that lunatic away." Maria's father had met me before. Back then, he had strongly opposed my relationship with his daughter. He believed I was unworthy of his precious daughter and had mocked me countless times. Now, seeing me brazenly cause a scene at the wedding of Wong Corporation's heir and even strike his beloved daughter, his eyes turned red with rage. "George, you bastard, stop right now. Kneel down and apologize immediately, and we may still consider letting you go. Otherwise, after offending all 3 of our families, you'll never have a place in H City again. No, that's not enough. We'll personally have you thrown in prison and make sure you rot there for the rest of your life." Just then, Gabriel suddenly appeared with a large group of people. Gabriel let out a cold laugh. "What arrogance! You dare slander, frame, and threaten the only son of Gabriel Wong on my family's territory. And you expect the heir of Wong Corporation to kneel and apologize to you? Who the hell do your 3 families think you are?" Gabriel strode forward in a perfectly tailored suit, his expression dark and imposing. Willow walked half a step behind him, holding her father's arm. Behind them followed the senior executives of Wong Corporation, the executives of Lu Corporation, and a group of powerful business magnates. Every one of them was an influential figure capable of shaking the entire business world of H City with a single move. Together, their presence felt like an army marching into the hall. Everyone present was stunned speechless. The revelation struck like a thunderbolt. What? George really was the heir of Wong Corporation? How was that possible? The entire hall stared in disbelief. The members of the Lin, Ito, and Sun families were so shocked that their eyes nearly popped out of their heads. Makoto's mouth fell wide open as he stared at me in utter disbelief. How is that possible? How could George really be the heir of Wong Corporation? What the hell is going on? Chapter 18. Maria's mind went completely blank. Her brain seemed to shut down on the spot. George is the heir of Wong Corporation. He's going to marry Willow. No, that's impossible. How could he marry someone else? Martin's face turned deathly pale, and his entire body began trembling. George never had more than $2,000 a month for living expenses in college. How could he be the son of the richest man in H City? Impossible. There must be some mistake. How could this happen? David looked equally stunned, staring at me in a daze. Maria's father, Makoto's father, and Martin's father were scared out of their wits. Every one of them looked ashen. I walked over to Gabriel and gave him a strange look. Dad, did you deliberately wait until the perfect moment to come downstairs? Gabriel smiled awkwardly. What do you think? I rolled my eyes at him before turning around and taking Willow's hand. Gabriel cleared his throat and swept his gaze over the 3 family heads, who were now trembling like frightened birds. So these are the people who dared disrespect the heir of Wong Corporation on Wong family territory. Which one of your families doesn't have my money invested in it? Which one isn't partnered with the Wong family? Which one of you isn't making a living thanks to me? Gabriel Wong. And now you dare bully my son. Have I been treating you too well? You shouldn't spend your whole life looking down your nose at everyone. My son was the one being wronged today. But if he had truly been an ordinary man with no powerful background, wouldn't your 3 families have bullied him to death? Then Gabriel delivered an outrageously dramatic line. The weather is getting colder. It's about time your 3 families went bankrupt. Back when Gabriel negotiated business overseas, someone had once held a gun to his head. There was hardly any danger or crisis he had not faced. Threats came as naturally to him as breathing. Gabriel enunciated every word clearly. Everyone here, Listen carefully. Anyone who continues doing business with these three families will be showing disrespect to me. Gabriel Wang. Gabriel was the richest man in H City and one of the 5 wealthiest people in the country. With Wang Corporation expanding rapidly overseas, it was entirely possible that he would eventually become the richest man in the nation. The moment he said those words, everyone understood. The Lin, Ito, and Sun families were finished. Chapter 19. The expressions of all 3 family heads changed dramatically. The head of the Lin family was the first to drop to his knees with a thud, his face filled with panic and terror. Chairman Wang, I was blind. I truly had no idea young Master Wang was your son. I was wrong. I was terribly wrong. Please be merciful. The Lin family depends entirely on Wang Corporation to survive. I'm begging you, please leave us a way out. The head of the Ito family dragged Makoto, who had been pretending to be unconscious, to his feet and slapped him across the face. Makoto Ito was only one of his illegitimate sons. The last time Makoto caused trouble, the Ito family had already been forced to pay a huge settlement. This time, he had nearly dragged the entire Ito family down with him. His father wanted nothing more than to strangle this disgraceful son to death. You worthless bastard, who gave you the nerve to offend young Master Wang? Even all the Ito family's assets combined aren't worth a fraction of the Wang family's fortune. Yet you accused him of stealing your watch. You blind fool. Kneel down and kowtow to young Master Wang immediately. He kicked Makoto in the back of the knee. Makoto crashed to the floor with a thud. He hurriedly pushed himself up into a kneeling position and crawled toward me. Young Master Wang, I was wrong. You kept such a low profile that I had no idea you were the heir of Wang Corporation. Please forgive me just this once. I'll never do it again. The head of the Sun family forced Martin's son to kneel beside him by pressing down on his head. The flesh on his face twitched as sweat poured from his forehead. His entire body trembled. Chairman Wang, this is all because that beast Martin was ignorant and reckless. The moment we get home, I'll break his legs and throw him out of the family. He and young Master Wang were classmates. After all, surely their years as fellow students must count for something. Please show mercy. Chairman Wang, give our family a way to survive. Gabriel stood with his hands clasped behind his back, looking down at them with complete indifference. Too late. After uttering those 2 words, Gabriel waved his hand. Damien, throw these blind fools out. Disgusting trash. Damien immediately led a large group of security guards forward and restrained them. Ignoring their cries and desperate pleas, the guards dragged them toward the exit. Maria finally came back to her senses and tried to grab me through her tears. George, I was wrong. Why didn't you tell me about your family? If you had told me sooner, how could I ever have treated you that way? I was only confused for a moment. Please speak to Uncle Wang and ask him to spare my family. George, I truly love you. How can you marry Willow? I won't marry Makoto anymore. I'll marry you, I promise. George, say something, please. But no matter how desperately they struggled, they were still dragged out like dead dogs. Chapter 20. Willow gently took my hand. Her eyes reddened as she looked at my bruised knuckles and asked softly, "Does it hurt, honey?" "No, liar." She beckoned to a waiter and took a wet wipe from him, then carefully cleaned my fingers. "Next time something like this happens, why would you need to hit anyone yourself? Just let Damien handle it. You're my groom today. Your hands are meant to hold mine. Why dirty them by touching people like that? My wife was going to be the death of me." Those words sounded sweeter than 100 declarations of love. I immediately wrapped an arm around her slender waist and grinned shamelessly. All right, whatever my wife says. Next time, I'll let Damien do it. You smooth talker. Seeing us flirt, Gabriel wiggled his eyebrows at me and whispered, "Kid, your old man made a pretty impressive entrance, didn't he?" I looked at him disdainfully. That was some first-rate showboating. Full marks. Gabriel burst out laughing and cheerfully went to greet the guests. David stood awkwardly in the middle of the hall, completely at a loss. I quickly walked over and pulled him along. "All right, stop standing there in a daze. We brothers are having plenty of drinks tonight. I'll even introduce you to a beautiful bridesmaid." Only then did David excitedly rub his hands together. "I'd walk through fire for you, bro." The wedding proceeded as planned. Its sheer extravagance left every guest speechless. Chapter 21. The next day, my wedding to Willow dominated the headlines of every major media outlet. The true identity of the mysterious heir to Wang Corporation was finally revealed as well. When Willow's fans saw how handsome I was, they immediately began swooning over us as a couple and flooded the internet with sincere blessings. More and more details from the wedding were soon exposed. That included how the Lin, Ito, and Sun families had falsely accused and framed the heir of Wang Corporation during the ceremony. The internet erupted once again. Netizens flooded the comments. What kind of blockbuster drama is this? The ex-girlfriend falsely accused the groom of stealing at his own wedding. Is something wrong with Maria's brain? He's the heir of Wang Corporation, And you think he'd steal your $600,000 watch? That amount is pocket change to him. The Lin, Ito, and Son companies all depended on Wang Corporation to survive. Yet they still dared treat its future owner like that. The Lin, Ito, and Son families are finished. They deserve it. Maria Lin must be regretting it so badly now. She dated the son of the richest man and somehow managed to ruin everything herself. I give that performance full marks. When Maria's friends and my former classmates saw the news, every one of them was left dumbfounded. None of them had ever imagined that George, whom they had always considered poor, was actually the son of the richest man in H City. The whole thing felt unreal to them. It was almost like a dream. Were truly wealthy people always this discreet and unassuming? In our college group chat, the classmates who had mocked me began tagging me one after another to apologize. I ignored them. They were free to apologize, but I was under no obligation to forgive them. Chapter 22. The following morning, I had just gotten out of bed and gone downstairs when Sam respectfully reported. Eldest young master, Miss Lin is kneeling outside the estate. She says she won't get up until she sees you. I nodded. All right, I understand. When I walked out of the estate, Maria was half kneeling on the ground, her eyes swollen and red. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up. She hurriedly crawled toward me and tried to grab my leg. George, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. I shouldn't have falsely accused you at the wedding, and I shouldn't have agreed to marry Makoto. Please give me one more chance. All right. I looked at her with a cold sneer. Maria, you're not sorry because you finally understand what you did wrong. You're sorry because the Lin family is about to collapse. She raised her head, and large tears streamed down her face. I truly didn't know you were the heir of Wang Corporation. If I had known, I never would have. That's enough. Stop pretending this is about love. I interrupted her with a scoff. Maria, had I still been the George you thought I was, would you be kneeling here and begging me today? Maria froze. Her tears fell even harder, but she could not come up with a response. Her silence was already an answer, wasn't it? Leave. Maria, stop embarrassing yourself here. I won't leave. She shook her head desperately and clutched my trouser leg with both hands. George, I know I was wrong before. I was too selfish. Please give me another chance. Nothing ever happened between Makoto and me. We simply grew up together, and I only wanted to help him. Rage surged through me. I kicked her away and glared at her darkly. Help him? Nothing happened between you. Maria, have you forgotten that on Makoto's very first day at Lin Corporation, he falsely accused me of spilling coffee on him, and you immediately jumped in to blame me without even thinking? How many times did you abandon me the moment he called? What were you doing on my birthday? You were out drinking and partying with Makoto and those friends of yours. And what did you tell me? That I needed to be more understanding. You knew perfectly well that he might have framed me for stealing his watch, yet you still chose his side without hesitation. And now you're standing here telling me nothing happened between you. Do you fucking think I'm an idiot? No, George, listen to me. Let me explain. She shook her head through her tears and tried to grab me again, but I kicked her away once more. Get lost. Who the hell wants to hear excuses from a cheating bitch like you? I waved my hand, and Damien immediately approached with 2 bodyguards. Damien, throw her out. From now on, don't let her come within a single step of this estate. Yes, young master. Damien responded at once. Ignoring Maria's cries, he ordered the bodyguards to seize her and drag her away. No, George, I know you still love me. You can't treat me like this, George. Maria's cries gradually faded into the distance. I never looked back at her. Chapter 23. During this period, the 3 wealthy families were on the verge of collapse. Their former business partners canceled their contracts one after another. Their bank loans were frozen, and their upstream suppliers cut them off completely. The 3 families were instantly driven into a desperate situation. Bankruptcy was now only a matter of time. To prevent them from doing something reckless out of desperation, Damien assigned 4 more bodyguards to protect me around the clock. One day, just as I walked out of the Wang Corporation headquarters, I found Maria standing at the entrance with a haggard expression. I had not seen her for only a few days, yet she seemed to have aged several years. Her face looked pale and lifeless. The moment she saw me, she rushed over, but my bodyguards firmly blocked her path. Her tears immediately began falling again. George, we were together for so many years. Please don't treat me like this. I know I was wrong. George, I really only planned to marry Makoto because I wanted to help him. You're the only man I've ever loved. Please believe me. George. Listening to her, I nearly laughed out loud. Maria, you claim you love me. Whenever Makoto called, didn't you immediately abandon me and run to him? Maria opened her mouth. I cut her off. You claim you love me, yet you were planning to marry another man. You claim you love me, yet when your friends belittled me, you stood beside them, laughing and agreeing. She bit her lip as tears streamed down her face. Unable to utter a single word in her defense, I continued. You claim you love me, yet when you knew Makoto was framing me, you still stepped forward to testify for him. You even demanded that I kneel and apologize to him. I took another step forward and stared directly into her eyes. Then tell me, what the hell did you love about me? Did you love how obedient and understanding I was? Did you love knowing I would always remain hopelessly devoted to you? Did you love believing that no matter who you chose to be with, I would always wait for you in the same place? No. She shook her head through her tears before collapsing to the ground with a thud. George, I regret it. I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong now. She sobbed so violently that she could barely breathe. I'll make it up to you from now on. All right. I'll do anything you ask. I'm not asking to compete with Willow. I can even be your mistress. Just please don't abandon me. Looking at how low she had fallen, I laughed. Maria, you're already tainted. And you want to be my mistress? You're not worthy. Maria's body trembled violently. She panicked and desperately shook her head. No, George, I'm not tainted. You're the only man I've ever been with. I never did anything physical to betray you. It's true, I swear. I looked at her with a scoff. Emotional cheating is still cheating. Since when did betrayal come in different shades? Maria looked at me blankly, as though every last bit of strength had been drained from her body. Her eyes were filled with despair. After a pause, I continued. Maria, you aren't acting like this because you love me. You're doing it because the Lin family is about to collapse. You used to have everything, status, money, and countless men admiring you. You had every reason to believe you were above everyone else. But now you've realized that you're about to lose all of it. So you're panicking. You've realized that the poor boyfriend you used to look down on, the men you believed would come whenever you called and disappear whenever you dismissed him, is now the only lifeline you have left. That's why you're begging me. That's not true. She screamed. I really do love you. I was just blinded by Makoto before. I looked at her without the slightest trace of sympathy. Maria, stop lying to yourself. You know I would never believe that. And deep down, neither do you. I turned around and prepared to get into the car. George. She cried out behind me, her voice hoarse and broken. You can't treat me like this. You once promised you would always be good to me. You promised. I stopped and looked back at her. Maria, I treated you well all those years because you were my girlfriend. You were the one who betrayed me first. Now, you mean absolutely nothing to me. You chose this path yourself, so you can live with the consequences. A bodyguard opened the car door. Without looking back, I climbed inside. Maria's anguished sobs came from outside the car, gradually growing faint and distant through the closed window. In the rearview mirror, I watched her figure grow smaller and smaller. She sat collapsed on the ground, crying as though her heart had been torn apart. But the car did not stop. I withdrew my gaze, leaned back against the seat, and closed my eyes. Chapter 24. Over the next few weeks, Maria continued pestering me relentlessly. Whenever I went to the office, she would stand downstairs and stare blankly at me like a statue, completely motionless. Whenever I returned to White Cloud Estate, she would wait outside the gates. Even when she saw me, she would not approach. She would simply gaze at me from a distance. Whenever I went to a restaurant, she would stand outside. She looked more haggard by the day. Several times, I saw her body sway as though she were about to collapse. Yet she kept doing it tirelessly. Heh, as the saying went, affection that came too late was worth less than dirt. That evening, Willow and I were having a candlelit dinner at a romantic restaurant. Once again, I spotted Maria standing beside a large tree not far from the entrance. Under the streetlight, her solitary figure looked especially lonely. Willow noticed where I was looking and glanced out the window. Then she withdrew her gaze, pursed her lips, and said nothing. Looking at Willow's calm expression, I suddenly found it amusing. Honey, are you jealous? The little woman instantly bristled, even stumbling over her words. Who's jealous? Don't talk nonsense. I burst out laughing and stared at her stubbornly pursed lips. Why aren't you jealous? Willow became embarrassed and annoyed. What do you mean? Why? I'm not jealous at all. The way you looked at her was no different from the way you'd look at that tree outside. What is there for me to be jealous of? I froze for a moment before smiling and shaking my head. I didn't realize you were observing me so closely. Of course. She set down her knife and fork and looked seriously into my eyes. When I'm acting, the thing I'm best at is observing my scene partner's expression. That's part of my profession. All right. When you glanced outside just now, you didn't even furrow your brow. There wasn't the slightest emotion in your eyes. She tilted her head and thought for a moment before continuing. Exactly. It was like you were looking at a complete stranger. I reached across the table and held her soft hand. Then why did you pout just now? The tips of her ears turned slightly red. I was just a tiny bit uncomfortable. Only a tiny bit. Honey, you're not allowed to think I'm petty. Then she glared at me indignantly. You mean husband? Couldn't you just pretend not to notice? Smiling, I tightened my grip on her hand. Sweetheart, you don't need to pretend to be generous when you're jealous. Just tell me whenever you're jealous. Your husband will comfort you. She puffed out her cheeks, turned her head away, and muttered softly, "Who needs you to comfort me?" Even as she said it, there was a smile in the corners of her eyes. After teasing Willow for a while, I finally stood and walked outside. The moment I stepped out of the restaurant, my expression darkened. I strode over to Maria and stared coldly at her. "Maria, have you lost your mind? Why do you keep following me around like a ghost every day? I'm warning you, follow me again, and I won't be so polite." Maria looked utterly hopeless as tears streamed down her face. "George, I really have no other choice. My father became so ill from the stress that he was admitted to the ICU. Lin Corporation truly can't hold on any longer. George, I haven't contacted Makoto again. I swear. Please believe me. I truly know I was wrong. I'm begging you, for the sake of everything we once shared, please help me. If you help me, I'll do anything you ask." "George." She clasped her hands together and looked at me pitifully. "George, please, just forgive me this once." I looked at her mockingly. "Maria, have you forgotten how you treated me? Have you completely forgotten every cruel thing you said to me? All of this was the result of your own choices. I'll tell you one last time. Stop pestering me. I will never forgive you, and I will never help you, because I stopped loving you a long time ago." Maria finally broke down completely. It was as though every ounce of strength had been drained from her body, and she collapsed to the ground. Sitting there, she looked up at me with lifeless eyes. She kept muttering to herself as though she had lost her soul. You don't love me anymore? How could you not love me? You used to treat me so well. Ha ha ha. I'm such an idiot. I was so close to becoming the future mistress of Wang Corporation. This is all my fault. I, Maria, am a complete and utter fool. Like a gambler who had lost everything. She raised her hand and slapped herself hard across the face twice. Then she struggled to her feet and staggered away. Chapter 25. A month later, Willow and I were spending our honeymoon by the sea. Wearing a sexy bikini, she lay in my arms and fed me one crystal-clear grape after another. Damien stood some distance away. Rather than interrupting us, he called my phone. I answered. "Young master, we just received an update from H City. All 3 families have gone bankrupt. The businesses belonging to Maria's friends' families were also severely affected. Many of them have already fled H City in disgrace and moved to smaller cities to rebuild their lives. The head of the Sun family personally broke Martin's right leg. It was a comminuted fracture. The doctor said that even after treatment, Martin would be permanently disabled. Miss Lin's father passed away, and the Lin family went bankrupt. She lost her mind and directed all her hatred toward Makoto. Makoto had both legs broken by the wealthy heir he offended years ago. Maria then stabbed him 18 times. He's dead. Maria was arrested at the scene and taken to a detention center. I replied calmly. All right, I understand. The call had not been on speaker, so Willow had no idea what Damien had said. She raised her head and planted a loud kiss on my cheek. Honey, I already spoke to my parents. I'm retiring from acting. Filming takes far too long. I can't stand being away from my husband for that many months. Can I stay home with you instead and have your children? I affectionately pinched her cheek. Sure. How many should we have? She tilted her head and thought seriously for a moment. 10. Honey, I want to give you 10 children. I pretended to be angry. No way. How could I let you have that many? Your husband would be heartbroken watching you suffer. She snuggled deeper into my arms. Then how many do you want? Honey, I'll listen to you. 8. 8 should be enough. George. What's wrong? I howled. Willow, have you lost your mind? Are you a dog or something? Why are you biting me?